One of the sages of our time, the Franciscan contemplative and teacher of mysticism, Richard Rohr, writes that we do not think our way into a new way of living. We live our way into a new way of thinking. He's trying to name a mystical truth that becomes more vivid with every passing day one spends in this learning community. In the early weeks at Williams, it may seem that thinking is the work that occupies the on-duty business hours, and living is what accounts for the rest. But then, over the months and years, as the projects deepen, as the bonds strengthen, as the questions become more urgent and the imagination more nimble, slowly and steadily living and thinking become harder and harder to tell apart. Now, poised on the threshold of one final year here, perhaps thinking and living have begun to reveal themselves to you as two names for the same whole, two parts of a single way of being, intellectually and spiritually and ethically alive and awake in the world. And this world, as we will hear today and all year, is crying out for people who are alive and awake enough of mind and heart and conscience to both think their way and live their way to a new sense of the whole with a new urgency and a fresh and nimble imagination. So, as a new year begins, may we find the tenacity of mind we'll need to think our way along the paths of our chosen disciplines to a way of living on this planet that is new enough to heal it. May we find the courage of conviction we'll need to think our way along the path of justice to a way of living on this planet that is new enough to make one family at last out of the human race. May we find the patience and the hope we'll need to live our way through a journey that has its discouraging, discomforting times. And may we find the joy we'll need to live our way to a new way of thinking that is alive and awake to the wholeness of this life, this earth, this community. In the name of all that is sacred to each of us alone, and all that is sacred to all of us together. So be it. Please be seated.